Hockey was a big part of my youth growing up. I'm from Canada, I'm from Toronto. Who can really not claim to that? But I do love taking the time to visit every arena that I could possibly visit, especially for the major NHL teams in Canada. I've been to the Saddle Dome, unfortunately not in it. I've been obviously to my home rink in Toronto, which I don't really rate that highly, sadly enough. I've been to Rogers Arena in Edmonton, which was just an astronomically amazing experience and probably one of the best rinks in the world, if not the best rink in the world as far as I'm concerned. And now I'm here in the front of another arena many years after it was constructed, and unfortunately I won't be able to go in. I've never been inside, but that will probably change this winter as I definitely am looking to actually get inside and enjoy a game with my favorite team playing. It's not the one that's local to here, the Canadian Tire Centre, home to the Ottawa Senators, also known at the time of its construction as the Corel Centre. This rink was built for the expansion Ottawa Senators and opened a few years after that team was brought into the league. The old rink that they played in, which is the Civic Center downtown, still exists, so we'll probably go and visit that on a separate trip too. But for today, we're just gonna do a walk around quickly as I was in the area, and I've always wanted to check out the outside of this rink as well. So come along for a brief little tour, and then we'll wrap up the vlog. Somewhat funny that this rink holds more, has a higher capacity than the rink in Toronto, which is the most successful NHL franchise. I've realized with myself that the reason why I'm fascinated and I enjoy hockey so much is not all because of the sport, although it is my favorite sport to spectate. It is a fast, action-packed game, and this team has always really delivered pretty good young, fresh teams, a lot of vibrance, or a lot of finesse to their play. We are located essentially 20 to 25 minutes outside of the core of Ottawa itself, which is part of the reason why this particular rink is so controversial, as it's not really accessible for families in the downtown Ottawa core. That all said, at the time, and I apologize for the wind, it's really a lot. That all said, with the construction of this arena, at the time, it was quite modern for Canadian rinks. It was one of the first of its kind. Therefore, it deserves its place in Canadian history as far as arenas construction is concerned and infrastructure, or entertainment infrastructure. We approach the business end of the arena, which there's honestly not much to look at. Unlike most arenas, there are barely any entry ports, which is kind of unusual. So we have this would be the staging area where they can do load-ins, etc. Fairly well realized and designed, to be honest. Very simple and straightforward because they had all the space they wanted in order to construct this facility. They didn't really have to worry about sandwiching it into anything because it was essentially vacant farmland when they built it. Sadly, it's starting to show its age. If you've seen my Northlands vlog, you'll know. And sadly, we're at another dead end. This is just an exit port. Sadly showing its age, as you can see, with the grass and other things that are starting to, well, as nature essentially starts to reclaim certain areas of this property. So having encountered a dead end here, we are on the other side of the load-in bay and the technical facilities area. We really have just a short walk around the building. So we're now on the other side, which is essentially, from what I understand, with how this is laid out, the main entry plaza. What you see here is all the private parking or VIP parking. Beyond that, there's a street and then another parking lot on the other side, and it goes all the way down. If you can see the stanchions, or light stanchions. For those of you fans of parking lots, who isn't a fan of that? Further to the reclamation, I believe we have an eagle's nest that you might be able to see up there in the corner of that wall structure. Is definitely a nest of some sort. You can actually see some feathers fluttering at the top of it. The Sens may need to rename their franchise. And I'm sure it hasn't been removed because it's protected. It's certainly a large nest, so there's definitely a big bird up in that there nest. We've come at an interesting time of year, as it is the cusp of the start of the coming NHL season. And there's a bit of buzz around this team. It's young. It's got really nothing to play for, considering that they're not expected to do well in the playoffs. If you're a Triangle Rewards member, you get exclusive access to, well, what is the arena, right? No re-entry. I'm going to give you a slight idea what it looks like inside. I will not lie, if this is a VIP entrance, it kind of reminds me of the entrance to a community pool. And we have Bert's, which is a restaurant of which I'm not familiar with, so it must be named after a significant member of the Ottawa Sens community or history. It's of course not open, as there's nothing really going on today. No flash photography or video recording allowed. That would be for Bert's. Now, I'm sure that's because, yeah, they don't want staff recorded. That's it from the Canadian Tire Center. Hope you enjoyed this little brief tour of the arena. And like I said, hopefully in the near future, we'll be back for a different visit.